The HRB Competency Register. Now, this was soft launched earlier this year and early February by the Institution of Structural Engineers and the Institution of Civil Engineers. Now, before I go on to about this, full transparency. This is something you need to know about me personally. I do have a vested and personal interest in this because I am the chair of the committee that creates the register. So I'm a chair of the ICE-I-T joint HRB structures competency register. So I have a vested interest in this. But what I'm about to reveal to you, I'm very close to, because I'm actually administering it, helping it happen along with all the other committee members, which is split into both ICE and I-T members. And again, another piece of false transparency. I am a member of both institutions. In fact, the chair of this committee must be a member of both institutions. So with that out of the way, let's go into the detail. So the purpose of HRB Competency Structures Register is to prove to duty holders, as defined in the Building Safety Act, that those they commission as structural engineers are competent. Apologies, I did say that rather quickly, but it's basically saying that if you're on this register and you've actually managed to get onto this register, and you can then really confidently demonstrate to a duty holder that you are competent to work on higher risk buildings. Really? How's that then? Well, it's a bit much, isn't it? I suppose it is, but let's talk about what the register is. And as I flesh it out, that will probably reveal more to you. Like, oh, okay, I get it. That's why. So, proof of competency requirements are defined within Regulation 11F of the Building Amendment England Regulations 2023. So, that's a very good point, actually. And if this hasn't been raised before, I'm kind of frustrated it hasn't been raised yet until now. I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but the Building Safety Regulator only covers England. That's right. Not Wales, not Scotland, not Northern Ireland, just England. Building Safety Regulator only covers England. All the other nations of the United Kingdom have their own devolved sort of parliaments and authorities, and they're dealing with it their own way. So that's why it's Building Amendment England Regulations 2023. But the compliance, competency statements are still hold true. Regulation 11F of the Building Safety Act underlines that. Oh, sorry, the building regulations. Sorry, apologies. So the ICE and I-T are working collaboratively to support the process of admitting registrants to the HRB structures, which we are currently doing that very thing. Decisions pertaining to the HRB structures register will be taken through the ICE, I-T, HRB Joint Committee. Yes. I see the questions popping up. We'll loop back to them. I'm in full flow. But I am acknowledging them. But thank you for the feedback and thank you for the interaction. I appreciate it. It means I'm not talking into a void. Anyway, decisions pertaining to the HRB. So the committee is going to make decisions. They are making decisions at the moment. I can tell you right hot off the press that we're currently looking at incorporated engineers and engineering technicians as part of the registration process as well. Anyway, let's move on. ICE and I-T nominate members of joint committee, which we have, with the chair holding membership of both institutions, which I am. Okay. The Secretariat support the committee in operation administration activities of the register are provided by the ICE. So while this is a joint venture and funded by both the ICE and ICE and the Engineering Council, the administration of it is being dealt with by the Institution of Structural Engineers. So all your applications, if you're ICE or ICE member, you still go through the ICE to be on the register. Okay. Which, by the way, is over and above. Sorry, that's not true. Over and above, wrong. It's an adjacent to, or an adjunct to, or bolt-on, if you like, to your Engineering Council membership that you currently have. So if you're incorporated or chartered or engineering technician registered with the Engineering Council, that's one thing. This thing is an addition to. Okay, so it's this registration thing it's an addition to, which is good. So how do you become a registrant? Well, there's currently only one route to become HRB instructor, and it's called the standard pathway. And this part, I want you to listen to very, very carefully, because there's some very strict requirements in order to even be considered to be on the register. This is not that horrible phrase of gatekeeping. This is about making sure that the people who actually do apply to be on a register are competent in the first place. We don't want to waste everyone's time. So that's where this is coming from. It's coming from a certain place saying, because we're asking a rather blunt question, you're a chartered engineer, great, good stuff, but are you competent in working on higher risk buildings? Now, you may argue it's not a reasonable question to ask, but I think it really is a reasonable question to ask, because many of us work on very broad range of buildings. I personally have worked on all sorts of things over my career. So to ask that question, is it possible to ask that question? Are you competent to work on this particular type of building? And that's where this all comes in. So applicants who need to hold a current ICE iInstructee membership with 5 years post registered chartered experience. So although they may not hold current registration, that's a legal point, but you have to have post 5 years experience of being qualified in some way, professionally qualified, either with the ICE or the iInstructee. It's a very important point. Applicants undergo a professional review interview against the UK spec HRB Structures Annex Competencies, which is supported by the submission of a portfolio of evidence. That's right, you have to go for your PRI again. But this is a different thing. This is against the specific set of competencies, which I'm going to explain later. But this point is really important, because it means that in order to get on the register, you have to be independently reviewed by your peers, by people who do not know you, you don't work with, there's no personal relations with at all, which means you're actually being interviewed and being quizzed and examined and reviewed by those who are not personally involved with. And that's important to note. And that's why it carries so much weight, because if a client or duty holder, I should say, the duty holder knows this, they know that you've been reviewed independently by your peers and found that you are competent. They say, yes, they know what they're doing. That means a lot. Okay, so successful registrants will renew their certification every 5 years. That's right. That's right. That's a really important thing. This renewal thing of every 5 years was quite insistent. It's very, very important this is the case. And the renewal process, we haven't actually ratified this yet, because we've got a handful of people that are registrants at the moment. So once this starts building momentum, we get more and more people on board, then we have to start as a committee. I say we, as chair and as a committee, let's figure out a way about how we're going to do this renewal process. It's not unknown. This is done in many other countries as well, about renewing one's license, renewing one's bit of competence. But why this? Why HRBs? Well, the reason being is just so you know, this demonstrate that you've kept up with current technology, kept up your CPD, you kept up, and also more to the point, between the time you became a registrant and the time that you actually want to renew, there may be a situation where you've stopped working on HRBs. So what then? Well, in that case, you probably want to renew anyway. Let's say I moved on and started working on airports exclusively. Let's say, yeah, my chairmanship of the committee would be up for question. But the point being, it's your life changes, things change. But principally, this is really making sure that people working on these things are who they say they are. So let's move on. The following forms are required to be sent to the iInstructee. So these are the things you need to send to us. Okay, lots of questions. This is great. I will answer them at the end. Thank you. You need an application form. Simple thing. Nothing. There's no sponsorship on the application form, by the way. You just send the application form. Abridged CVs showing relevant HRB related experience. So you have to show specifically what kind of work you're working on. kind of work you're working on. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by things. What kind of projects you're working on, which are relevant to HRBs, yeah? Just to make sure you've actually got experience in that. Assessment reports, 5 assessment reports, all 2 pages long, just 2 pages, 2 A4 pages, all of them showing that your competencies against the 5 key objectives, AA to EE. I won't go into detail about what those objectives are, otherwise this course will go on for 2 hours, which we can't do. So the application fee is £200, but you can claim on expenses, and it's tax deductible. It's fine. It's fine. And you need a portfolio of evidence. Now, the way this works, bit of a tip here: you write your UK spec. You write your reports, your 5 reports, right? And in those reports, you're going to make claims. It's fine. It's fine, because you make claims about what you can do and how you've done things and such and such. But if you made a claim, then you need to back it up with evidence. And the way you back it up with evidence is you refer to what's in your portfolio. Okay, so you've got your portfolio, you've got your pile of documents, virtual pile of documents, and then you just say, well, I did this, and I did this, and this is the drawing, and this is the specification, or whatever that I see, like demonstrated that I did the thing, I do the thing. So that's how it works. That's the reciprocal nature of it. So you write the reports first, and once you write reports, then you build a portfolio up. On average, I think this is about maybe 5 days work, I reckon, tops, if it's just going non-stop. So if you split that over a period of weeks, it's not a small amount of work. I'm not going to play it down, but it's still an effort required. Again, the fact that you've done all of this, it helps with the duty holders, it helps with those who are commissioning you. So that's the feedback loop, is you're spending all this effort to do this thing. For what? That's a reasonable question. For what? Well, is to actually say that you are competent in this, and those who employ you are confident, should be confident in that fact.